Man, 10 fracking years of doing this racket. So, what could I possibly commemorate an anniversary like this by reviewing? Who am I kidding? You saw the title up above and probably the card as well, so let's just get right into it. One of the advantages of being among the older members of the reviewer community is having been there for when things like cable TV first made their appearance. I was indeed there when the idea of actually paying up front for television became more than a novel concept. This was so long ago that the Disney Channel itself was actually a premium network along with the likes of HBO. Back then, the network didn't have a lot to distribute outside of its more older classic films. As such, a lot of its primetime slots were taken up by non-Disney productions like European animated films they could get a cheap license for. But the network back then was perhaps most known for its morning lineup, which started with Good Morning Mickey and Donald Duck Presents, which were compilation shows of Disney's original theatrical animated shorts. Along with weird game shows like Contraption, that was all about quizzing little kids of their knowledge of Disney films. Yeah, back then you could win prizes for being an 8-year-old Disney dork. But probably the most famous or infamous of the Disney Channel's fledgling years were 2 animatronic puppet shows adapted from 2 classic films that would live on in the nightmares of those who dared unearth them years later. And yes, for the 10th anniversary of TV Trash, we're finally gonna tackle those 2 shows. So let's get started with Welcome to Pooh Corner.
Well, welcome to you. I'm Winnie the Pooh. Everybody's waiting here at Pooh Corner, waiting for you and me, Winnie the Pooh, to have a happy hooty-poo time. Let's have a happy hooty-poo time.
What the hell was that?
Based on the Winnie the Pooh featurettes from the 1960s and 70s that were then compiled into the 1977 feature film, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the show seems to try and pick up where that film left off, as far as telling what happened to the main characters of the 100-Acre Wood after Christopher Robin left off for education. At least that's the best way I can explain it, given that Christopher Robin never appears in this series. So let's start with what everyone has to talk about the minute they see 5 seconds of footage from this series: the characters. The show used human performers in animatronic puppet costumes, save for Roo, who was just a full-fledged puppet. And let's just say these things weren't exactly the state-of-the-art designs that Jim Henson would create for the Ninja Turtles movies a half-decade later. I mean, good night, these things, with their dead, soulless eyes and robotic mouths. They're about as nightmare-inducing as that creeper storytelling doll Teddy Ruxpin. Who the frack designed these outfits anyway? Created by Alchemy 2 Incorporated, headed by Ken Forsey, who later created Teddy Ruxpin. It's like Kids Entertainment of the 80s had its own umbrella corporation. The rest of the production doesn't look that much better. Full disclosure, I was a really young and really stupid kid when I first watched this, so I obviously didn't notice. But nowadays, for me, the mixture of stage-level props with painted cloth backdrops and green screen effects is so blatantly clear. And I know you could probably find some shows out there on the internet where the green screen effects are even worse than these. But keep in mind, those are often being made by people on a shoestring budget filming scenes in a bedroom someplace. This was made by a professional studio just starting up its own TV network. I know Disney was having financial issues back in the 80s, but damn! As far as the voice actors go, none of the talent of the original animated films were brought in for this series. So no, you don't get the legendary voices of Sterling Holloway, Paul Winchell, Ralph White, or even Sebastian Cabot as the narrator. That role went to Australian actor Laurie Main, who opened each episode in person with a brief teaser as to what the episode's story was going to be about. Just what were those episodes about? Well, it's a show aimed at young audiences in the early 80s, so what do you think?
Do you know what this is? This may look like a kitchen pot that you cook in, but if you use your imagination, it could be a lot of things. They have cloudy days at Pooh Corner, too. And once when it was cloudy, Winnie the Pooh and all his friends learned that there can be a bright side to a cloudy day.
Yep, every episode was centered around Pooh and his friends trying to teach their impressionable audience something. Though I suppose the episodes do have some good messages, like why you shouldn't give up and quit just because things are hard, why you shouldn't eat one thing all the time, the value of slumber parties. Okay. Of course, this was most prevalent in the edition of the series most people are aware of, the direct-to-home video special Too Smart for Strangers, where they all try to cheerfully teach the dangers of why you should not go off with someone you don't know. Telling it with characters almost as scary as those strangers they try to warn their audience about. Nope, I ain't touching that thing. Go check out Animat's reaction video to it. Oh, good freaking night, I should not have said touching it in regards to that thing. Mind you, it wasn't just the stories that tried to teach lessons. It was also in the songs they made for the second half of each episode.
There's only one Tigger, as you know, and he likes to sing a song about that. You're the only you, and I'm the only me. No one in the world is quite the life of we.
Oh, good night. I had gotten these things purged from my head years ago. Now you're all stuck with them, people. Now you are.
They grow out of me quite naturally. My eyes are a part of me.
So yeah, a show featuring creepy as all get-out characters trying to stand in and teach the lessons the kids' parents don't want to bother with. Could Disney find a way to make that thing even lower?
Dumbo Circus, flying out of the sky. You'll never see another show like this.
Well, 10 years of doing this and I ain't learned jack squat. Now we really get into something that will make you certain someone at the Mouse-eared studio was on some type of bender. Following Pooh Corner on Disney's morning lineup was Dumbo's Circus, a show very loosely based on Walt's fourth animated feature film, Dumbo. How loosely are we talking? Well, the show has Dumbo in it, and that's about everything it has in common with the movie. If we are to assume this has any continuity with said film, then it looks like Dumbo took his newfound fame to say screw you to all the other elephants that bullied him, and with his mom's blessing went and founded his own circus. One that's a furry's dream come true. Hey, 10 years and that's the closest I've ever come to a furry joke. I think I deserve some props for that much restraint. Yes, this circus of Dumbos is run entirely by animals, led by the lion ringmaster Lionel, who I'm guessing ate Timothy and told Dumbo he went to live with his cousin in the city.
Where's the town?
There is no town, but there are lots of people. See, the folks who live around here are farmers, so they're spread out all over the place.
We also have the assistant ringmaster, I think, Dink the koala bear, QT the orangutan who plays the calliope, the dog clown Barnaby, and the kitty high wire acrobat Lily. There's also the janitor Sebastian, and did you know he's supposed to be the bad guy? Did the black fur and trashy attire not tip you off?
I want you to put these posters up all over this place so that everybody knows Dumbo Circus is here.
Well, that's not a very big job for a cat with my talent.
Yet quite a few of this show's episodes center around Sebastian trying to weasel his way into being part of the show through some type of nefarious means. Like the very first episode, when he gets a hold of Dumbo's magic feather and stashes it so Dumbo can't fly, and thus they would need to find a new act for the show. Okay, wait just a goddamn minute! Wasn't the purpose of the movie that the magic feather was just a placebo? That Dumbo never really needed it? That he only needed to believe in his own natural abilities he was gifted with? In fact, much of this first episode is about everyone else trying to encourage him that he can still fly, only nothing works, so they ultimately have to find the feather and get it back from Sebastian. Congrats! You upended the moral of the source material in your very first episode. You guys are such great teachers. There were plenty of episodes that focused on the other characters as well, and for what it's worth, this show did seem to take on an even more adventurous tone, as it was all about the circus traveling from one different town to another. Mind you, I can't show you too many of the episodes I remember due to so few of these being available. Many of the episodes I have found likely were from an earlier season that aired before I started watching. The set designs for this show look a little better than those on Pooh Corner, but somehow it looks like the puppet costumes got worse. Especially QT here. I mean, oh my god! It's like he's been infected by the black oil from the X-Files! Don't look, people! You look at it, you'll die in 5 days! Likely due to the incredibly cheap production, both of these shows got 120 episodes. They were probably able to film a week's worth of episodes in a day and finish each whole series in less than a month. It didn't hurt that in both shows, they reused a lot of scenes over and over again for the second half of each episode. Like reusing the same sing-along songs in Pooh Corner and scenes from the circus sideshow in Dumbo Circus. That definitely saved them a lot of money. Haim Saban and Shuki Levy would be so proud. Of course, similar production styles would be used years later with Adventures in Wonderland, albeit without the creepy puppet costumes and just regular human performers, so they made some improvements there. As I may have mentioned before, there were plans for a series called Little Mermaid's Island that would also have puppets as characters, but that got scrapped in favor of the Little Mermaid animated series. Those puppet characters would have been designed by the Jim Henson Shop, so there is a good chance they wouldn't have been nightmare fuel. Just imagine what either Welcome to Pooh Corner or Dumbo Circus would have been like if they had been made with Jim's mastery. Instead, we get stuck with two shows that I look back on and say, good freaking night, no wonder I'm so screwed up! Part of me just wants to tear into and ridicule these shows like so many others have for their incredibly cheap and incredibly disturbing at times production values. But at the same time, this was in the early 80s when actual quality of children's entertainment still sadly was not given much respect or consideration. For what it's worth, this still was part of a pretty high concept idea in Disney being willing to create its own television productions for its own television network. And for what it's worth, it did lay the groundwork for what the network and for what cable television as a whole would eventually blossom into. And if you think about it, TV trash has really evolved like that in some way as well. What started as just a bad ripoff of so many other review shows has perhaps developed into something that has been made to show the history of television through the bad and the good and the obscure and how the medium has developed through all of them. Will I last another 10 years? And no one can see the future, but for now, once again, I'd just like to say thank you to each and every one of you for getting me through these first 10 years of TV trash.